Whoa, that's hot. Woo-hoo-hoo. Oh, oh, it's a hot cup of coffee. Hey, thanks for stopping by. I just wanted to do a video this week on the Midwest Gaming Classic. I'll be going to the Midwest Gaming Classic 2025 here in just about 4 weeks. In fact, right now, 4 weeks from now, I'll be on the vending floor shopping and looking at games. And I just wanted to touch base of why I go to these conventions and why I think you might like these conventions as well.
Minute Gamer.
Hey, how's it going? 60 Minute Gamer here, and I'm just going to show you some footage for the next 20 minutes of the Midwest Gaming Classic. This footage is going to come from 2023 and 2024. And I'm just going to have a conversation with you guys and just explain why I started going to gaming conventions and why I think you might want to go to a gaming convention. And if you're close to the Midwest Gaming Classic, I couldn't think of a better one for you to go to. This was just a blast. And during the pandemic, I was considered an essential worker, so I had to go to work every day, but somehow I got the itch to get my old gaming consoles down from the attic, just like everybody else was just started gaming, in overdrive. And when I hooked up my Sega Genesis, I couldn't get the cartridges to read all the time, and it was just bugging the hell out of me. So I decided to go to the YouTubes and look up any way that I could fix this problem. And to my astonishment, there was a ton of video game related content on YouTube. And as I watched this content, I would see, some of my favorite YouTubers actually go to these conventions. And I was like, this would be so cool if I had one close to me. And the Midwest Gaming Classic is in Milwaukee, and that's about 4.5 hours. And that's kind of out of my comfort zone just to go over, get a hotel, and stay and game for a weekend. But for some reason, I decided I wanted to see what it was about and get out of my comfort zones. So I pre-bought my tickets, booked my hotel room, and away I went to Milwaukee. And I did make one fatal error for the first 4 conventions that I went to, and I really didn't experience Milwaukee. I didn't get outside of the convention area. I just popped right down to the Skywalk, went right into the convention, and that's where I spent a majority of my time. I would recommend that you carve out some time to go to some of the other restaurants that are around that area. At least get a couple times that you just walk to one of them. Everything's in walking distance. Get out and see the Great Lake. It's right there close by. Experience some of Milwaukee and give back to that community. And last year I had some friends go with me, and we actually took an Uber over to Up Downs, which isn't that far. You probably could have walked there. But here at a convention all day, you're really not wanting to walk a whole heck of a lot because you've been doing it all day. But we had a blast. It was a great barcade that was close by, and I was shocked to see how many young people were actually there playing and just having a drink or two, nothing crazy, and just having a good time. And I grew up, in a time pre-internet, actually. I'm that old. We didn't have the World Wide Web to go and get things. We didn't have the YouTube to cater us specifically to what our needs are. We actually had to buy magazines that had information in it, and you saw these video game conventions, and the big one was the E3, and they premiered all these video games. Sony was there, Sega was there, Nintendo was there, and they always had these big announcements, so you never really grasped that you could actually go and do one of these conventions. And the more content that I saw of these YouTubers visiting these conventions just piqued my interest. These were people that are standing in front of these machines playing games, and they were me. They were people that had the passion for video games just as I do. And the Midwest Gaming Classic is a little bit more than just video games. There is customizable card games. There's Dungeons and Dragons, Munchkin. They've got this huge tabletop board game library that you can actually go check out, go to a room, sit down at a table, and play with your friends. And in this same room, they had a Dungeons and Dragons area. And a couple that met me in Milwaukee, from my hometown, wanted to check it out. And in that area, the people were so friendly on just showing you what it was about. They didn't care if you were going to spend money or not. They were just passionate about, Dungeons and Dragons, and they wanted to share their love for the game. And those are the people you want to learn stuff from. And there was an area that was just carved away just for air hockey tournaments, and people were playing air hockey the whole time. It was flippin' cool. And there is arcade games to play on the convention floor, but there's also another room that's carved out, and it is the Garcade, and it is just an arcade in Menominee Falls, Wisconsin, which is close by to Milwaukee. And they bring a lot of arcade machines, a lot of pinball machines there so that you can just experience them yourself on free play. And they do this every year for the gaming community. These guys donate a lot of time and a lot of work getting this stuff up there and getting it running and keeping it running during the convention time. And if you watch this channel, you know that I've done a couple arcade videos when I go visit arcades and just do some filming and share that. I'm going to have to get up to the Garcade this year. That is one of my goals, is to get there and spend some time at the Garcade. Another great room they have is the Guys, Games, and Beer. Those guys put together an awesome room. I love to spend time in that room playing. They've got some of the same things that you'd find out on the convention floor, but it just kind of got their twist, and it's kind of got just an at-home feeling where you can sit down and play these games, and it is a blast. They have, every year they do the Steel Battalion LAN party. They have a Halo LAN party going on. They'll have a podcast that'll be live from there, and it is just a great room to visit. These guys give back to this community year after year after year, and I'm always happy to go into that room. It is one of my favorites. And last year they had, in one section, was nothing but light gun games. I love me some light gun games. You want me to shoot some crap? I will shoot the crap, man. I love shooting zombies. Light gun games are just fun to me, and these guys know it, and they're providing it for you right there in the show. So if you are into light gun games, definitely get your butt down there and visit the Guys, Games, and Beer location. You will love it, man. I'm telling you, just a fun room. And a huge reason that I love going to these conventions are the vendor floors. I'm telling you, I love shopping for retro video games or even modern video games. The amount of product that are on these floors are just astronomical. I can't find any video games locally where I live in southern Minnesota. To go to a really good video game store, I have to drive to Fairmont, Minnesota, which is like an hour and 15 minutes from where I live, and it's quite a jaunt. So going to one of these conventions and being able to stock up on some of the games that I'm looking for and I can't find without going to Mercari or eBay or buying them directly on Facebook Marketplace, it is such a joy to go and look through these bins. And they have games that you couldn't imagine finding at some video game store. I was at that age where I grew up playing the Atari 2600, and my mom had given my Atari 2600 and all the cartridges away, and I knew she did it. She asked me, so it was not like she gave all my stuff away without me knowing, but I didn't think I would want to play these games later in life, and now I want to play them. I bought a lot of them on the convention room floor and have built my collection back up to where I had it when I was a 7 and 8 year old. It was kind of cool. And one thing that I really wanted to do, I missed out on getting the 5200. We had some kid down the street that had a 5200, and we were all jealous of that kid until we got to play on that controller, and that controller just sucked ass. I'm telling you, it was the worst controller I've ever played with in my life. And I picked up a 5200 on Marketplace. I actually went out and bought a custom-made 5200 controller, and these games that are on it, I enjoy playing them. But where am I going to find them? I'm not going to find them at a Best Buy. I'm not going to find them, down the road at the pawn shop. There's chances of finding that, but I'm not going to find them there. I can find them right here at the Midwest Gaming Classic on the vendor floor, and some of the games are just fun to collect. And sure, I could emulate these games and play them on a Raspberry Pi, but I like to experience them how I would have back then. And it is so neat seeing these things that are still out in the wild and still working today. I just have a blast collecting for the 5200. It's just insane, but every time I go to a convention, it's one of the things I try to find is some games for each of the consoles to build up my library a little bit. With that being said, you really need to set yourself a budget when you go to one of these conventions, because there is so much stuff to buy on the vendor floor that you're going to be like a kid in a candy store, or you're going to be like that kid at the checkout line with your mom, and you're going to see something you want and you're going to harass the heck out of her to get that. You need to quench that feeling and just set a wish list of stuff that you want when you go there. Go out and check what the price is, whether it be price charting or eBay. See if you're overpaying for that, and that'll help your decision whether you're going to buy it or not. Or you can actually make an offer to that vendor and they might actually lower the price for you. But know that they're there, and they're paying to get that booth. So don't sit there and try to get a $20 game for $5. That ain't going to happen. Be reasonable, on what you're purchasing. And remember that the video game collecting can be an addiction. You could be buying crap that you really don't need or want or ever going to play with. Know what you can afford, know what your limits are, know what your budget is. Don't put yourself in the poorhouse to get a game. So if you see that copy of Earthbound and it is $50 cheaper than where you've seen it everywhere else, and you don't even like RPG games, pull your head out of your butt and don't buy that thing. Make sure that you are buying, appropriately. Last year, I saw a really cheap copy of Earthbound, and I do not like RPG games. I have just never really gotten into them, but I thought it would be neat to have something Earthbound for my game room, so I bought this cartridge. It was a 3D enlarged cartridge, but it sits on my gaming shelf in there, and I get enjoyment out of seeing it, and I didn't have to spend $350 on a loose copy of Earthbound. And we all have potential of being that little kid in the candy store, so just when you go to these conventions, set out a budget for yourself, set out a wish list, do the research, and be responsible, be a good steward of your family's money, and make sure that you're not overspending. And another great room is right on the screen right now, and it's the Maker Room. It's these guys that make these consoles and they modify them to do, be a mini Wii, a mini GameCube, and they make these things. And it is just neat to see what creative people are doing in the gaming community and having fun with it. If you're there on Family Day, this is a great room to take your students to. If you got kids that are in robotics or STEAM and you want to learn about trial and error, take them down to these, these maker rooms. They will actually welcome you in, share what their experience was, what their failures were, how they overcame them. These are great people to talk to, and I can't encourage you enough to stop by and listen and ask questions to some of these people that are working behind this table. These guys are purely awesome, and it's great to hear from them every year. And I'm going to say, without a shadow of a doubt, without trying to sound sentimental or risking sounding a little sappy here, but I'm going to tell you right now, the best thing about the Midwest Gaming Classic or any gaming convention is not going to be the games, the shopping. It's not going to be the music, the celebrities that are going to be there, the YouTube content creators. It's not going to be about the tournaments. It's not going to be about the cosplay events that they have going on. It's not going to be the after party. The best thing about the Midwest Gaming Classic is you. You are going to make it fun. When you go there with a great attitude and you're ready to have a good time playing games, that's what makes the Midwest Gaming Classic awesome. I could literally go there with a shopping list and not get a dang thing on my shopping list and still have an awesome time. Open yourself up to things that are going to be new. Open up yourself to games that you normally wouldn't play. If you see somebody sitting down to play the Atari 2600 in the gaming museum and somebody standing behind you, put in football, put in some goofy Pong game or something and ask them to play you and just have a good time playing games. So I got out of my comfort zone about 4 years ago. This will be my fifth convention for the Midwest Gaming Classic, and I can't tell you how much I love to go year after year after year. And the first year that I went, I can remember Stern had their display for Godzilla, and it was huge, and I thought it was just flipping awesome. But it was out of my wheelhouse, and I really didn't want to play pinball. Pinball for me was just banging the ball around. It wasn't target shooting, it wasn't storylines, it was just banging the ball around, and it just didn't pique my interest at all. But when I walked by the Mandalorian machine and I saw the videos playing, that piqued my interest in pinball. So by just trying that out, made me try out some of the other pinball machines, and that's been a huge part of the conventions, is actually getting on these new pins and experiencing them as they came out, and it's ignited a passion for playing pinball. And if I would have never gotten out of my comfort zone and actually done that, I would have missed out on so much fun. We just got a pinball arcade in the town that I live in, and I'm telling you, there are a lot of people that come into that arcade and play pinball, and it is just fun to see people enjoying pinball nowadays. And I buy my tickets right away and book my hotel rooms right away. I am just so looking forward to going to the Midwest Gaming Classic. It is the destination for me every year that I really, really enjoy going to. It is about 30,000 people last year, I think, came through the doors, of people that are like-minded, that are all into gaming. And what is not to love about that? Just being around all these people that are just having a great time playing video games, playing pinball, playing board games, air hockey, enjoying the music from all the games that we like. It is just a blast. And I highly recommend that if you are into gaming at all, that you look up one of these conventions near you and you give it a try. And if you want to learn a little bit more about the Midwest Gaming Classic, or you actually want to see some of the panels, they do a podcast right here on YouTube. It's a Midwest Gaming Classic podcast, and it's hosted by the panel director of the Midwest Gaming Classic, and his name is Jason Garris. And a lot of these podcasts are just live recordings from the panels that they've had at past Midwest Gaming Classic. There was one with Gar Nelson from the Garcade, and that is a must listen. I love that one. That was great. So if you got any extra time and you want to do some research, I suggest that you look up the Midwest Gaming Classic podcast right here on YouTube. And here's one of those moments that I just got to get out of my comfort zone and play a game. And I had a blast playing this. It was just like a jousting game. I walked by it several times. This year I decided to play it, and I had a great time playing it. People were smiling. That reporter that was there with the TV station, she was having a great time. And this was a VR shooter that you're not going to find it in your local arcade unless you're in like a big city. This thing is a $50,000 arcade machine, and I got to try it right there at the Midwest Gaming Classic, and I had a blast. We had actually went back and played that probably 2 or 3 more times. It was just pure fun. And I don't know who brought it, but like every other game at the Midwest Gaming Classic, it was set for free play, and we played that several times, and I just want to thank that vendor for bringing it, because it was a good experience. If I ever saw that out in the wild somewhere, I would definitely drop some cash to play that thing. It was just that much fun. Hey, are you still listening? I can't believe you're here still. Holy buckets. Have you hit the like or subscribe button yet? Hey, if you haven't, please hit that like and subscribe button. It helps grow the channel out there. It helps build the algorithm to push it out to other people to see it. And maybe it will encourage them to get out of their comfort zone and come visit us at a convention this year. I'll be there filming again, so I get some content pushed out to you guys for the 2025 Midwest Gaming Classic. And if you see me at a convention this year, stop and say hi. I got some stickers made up that says 60 Minute Gamer on them, and I would like to give you one for your water bottle or your laptop, or you want to put it on something, you know, you want to stick it somewhere, just come up and ask me and I'll give you a sticker as long as I got some left. Holy crap, I should tell you what this thing costs. If you want to go to all 3 days, it's $110. If you just want to go Saturday and Sunday, it's $70. You can buy individual tickets for the individual days, or you can buy a VIG pass for $180, and that gets you into everything plus the after party. Well, I hope to see you at the Midwest Gaming Classic, and remember, game on!